From growing up in secrecy and struggle to becoming one of the most powerful voices in media, Janet Mock's journey is a story of courage, authenticity, and trailblazing success. Janet Mock was born on March 10, 1983 in Honolulu, Hawaii. Her early life was shaped by the vibrant cultural backdrop of the islands, but also by hardship and identity struggles that would test her resilience. She was the second child of Charlie Mock III, an African-American from Texas, and Elizabeth Mock, of native Hawaiian and Portuguese descent. This mixed-race heritage exposed Janet to a variety of cultures, traditions, and perspectives. But it also meant that she stood at a unique intersection of identity from a very young age. Janet's childhood was far from easy. Her parents divorced when she was young, and she grew up primarily with her mother. Finances were tight, and poverty was a reality that shaped much of her early life. She and her siblings often lived in unstable conditions, moving frequently and facing the challenges of growing up without financial security. On top of these struggles, Janet carried within her a truth that set her apart. Though assigned male at birth, she always knew she was a girl. From as early as she could remember, Janet felt different. She loved dresses, admired femininity, and gravitated toward things that society told her were not for boys. This created an inner conflict that was painful and confusing. She faced ridicule from peers, pressure from family members, and an overwhelming sense of not belonging. But even in these early years, Janet clung to her sense of self. She may not have had the words for it yet, but she knew she was destined to live as the woman she truly was. By her teenage years, Janet began taking steps toward transition. At just 15 years old, she started hormone therapy, a brave and difficult decision that she largely financed herself. Working after-school jobs, she saved every penny she could to fund her medical needs. This level of independence and determination at such a young age spoke to her resilience. While most teenagers worried about fitting in at school dances, Janet was focused on reclaiming her identity and creating a future where she could live authentically. At 18, she made an even bigger decision, traveling to Thailand for gender confirmation surgery. It was an extraordinary leap of courage for someone so young. But Janet understood that living in alignment with her true self was not optional. It was necessary for her survival and happiness. The surgery marked a turning point. It wasn't just a physical transition, but also an emotional and spiritual one. Janet had taken ownership of her life, and though her journey was far from over, she had already achieved a milestone many thought impossible. Despite the struggles of her youth, Janet never wavered in her commitment to education. She earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in fashion merchandising from the University of Hawaii. Her passion for storytelling and media, however, pushed her to aim higher. She later moved to New York City, where she pursued and completed a master's degree in journalism from New York University. This period was transformative. In the bustling streets of New York, Janet found both anonymity and opportunity. It was there that she began to dream bigger, not just about surviving, but about shaping culture itself. Her career began with traditional journalism. She landed a role as an editor at People magazine, one of the most recognized entertainment publications in the world. Behind the scenes, Janet excelled, honing her craft as a writer and learning the inner workings of the media industry. But her personal truth remained largely private until 2011, when she made a groundbreaking decision. In an essay for Marie Claire, Janet publicly came out as a transgender woman. For years, she had worked quietly, keeping her story under wraps, but now she chose to step fully into the light. The piece was powerful, honest, and deeply moving. It resonated across the globe, making Janet an instant public figure and a voice for transgender visibility. This wasn't just a personal declaration. It was a cultural milestone. Very few trans women of color had been given mainstream media platforms at that time, and Janet's courage helped shift public conversations about gender and identity. In 2014, she took her advocacy to another level with the release of her memoir, Redefining Realness. The book was revolutionary. It wasn't just the first mainstream memoir by a trans woman of color, but it was also unflinchingly honest. Janet wrote about poverty, identity struggles, abuse, love, and survival. She revealed the realities of transitioning as a teenager without wealth or privilege, and she humanized a story that was often sensationalized or misunderstood by the media. Readers around the world connected with her vulnerability, and the book quickly became a New York Times bestseller. Redefining realness solidified Janet Mock as more than a journalist or activist. She was a cultural force. She followed it up with a second memoir, Surpassing Certainty, 2017, which explored her 20s and her evolution as a writer, professional, and woman. Both books became essential reads for anyone seeking to understand resilience, identity, and the power of self-acceptance. Janet's impact, however, was not confined to the page. She ventured into television and film, where stories have the power to reach millions. In 2018, she joined the team of the groundbreaking FX show Pose, a drama that explored the lives of LGBTQ+ people of color in New York's ballroom scene of the 1980s and 1990s. As a writer, director, and producer, Janet helped bring authenticity to the storytelling. Pose was historic for its representation of trans women of color in lead roles, something Hollywood had rarely done before. Janet herself made history on the show. She became the first trans woman of color hired as a writer on a television series, and later the first trans woman of color to write and direct an episode of television. Her leadership ensured that the voices and experiences of trans people were portrayed with respect, nuance, and depth. Her achievements didn't stop there. In 2019, Janet signed a historic multi-million-dollar deal with Netflix, becoming the first trans woman of color to secure such a partnership with a major content company. The deal gave her the power to create, develop, and produce television projects, ensuring that diverse stories would continue to find a place on the global stage. This was more than a professional milestone. It was a cultural breakthrough that opened doors for countless others. Beyond Hollywood, Janet Mock became an influential public speaker and activist. She delivered powerful speeches at events such as the Women's March and addressed issues of intersectionality, race, and gender equality with clarity and passion. She graced the covers of magazines, was recognized by Time magazine as one of the most influential people in the world, and received awards for her contributions to media and activism. But at the core of her success lies something deeper than fame or recognition: authenticity. Janet Mock never allowed the world to dictate who she should be. She defined herself, embraced her truth, and used it to inspire others. She has consistently emphasized that her story is not just about her. It's about every person who has ever felt invisible, silenced, or misunderstood. Her legacy is one of empowerment. She demonstrated that trans women of color not only deserve to be seen and heard, but also to lead, create, and thrive. She showed that stories rooted in struggle can blossom into movements of hope and change. Janet Mock's journey, from a child navigating poverty and secrecy in Hawaii to a best-selling author, producer, and global advocate, is nothing short of extraordinary. It is proof that authenticity is power, and that courage can turn even the harshest struggles into the brightest triumphs. Call to action. If Janet Mock's journey inspired you, let it serve as a reminder that your truth is your greatest strength. No matter where you start, no matter how heavy the obstacles, you have the power to rewrite your story. Don't shrink yourself for the comfort of others. Embrace who you are fully and unapologetically. Take action today. Write down your story, even if it's just for yourself. Take one bold step toward living authentically. Share encouragement with someone who feels unseen. Just as Janet's story has encouraged millions, your life is a story still in progress. Like Janet Mock, you can turn struggle into strength and create a legacy that uplifts others. Be brave, be authentic, and make your journey one worth telling to the world.